Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields back in our Gillespie Group storefront studio. This morning, yesterday, we were on location at the Silverdome, a super location, the morning after the Super Bowl. I got to thinking about it. You know, are there any other cities in the United States that have two standing Super Bowl venues? In other words, we had the Super Bowl donkeys years ago between the 49ers and the Bengals at the Silverdome. And then it was only a few years ago we had the Super Bowl between the Seahawks and the Steelers at Ford Field, both venues still standing. Is there another city with two Super Bowl stadiums where both of them are still standing? Now, you might have said Miami, but I think they tore down the Orange Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, because they've had in both the in the Fort Lauderdale Stadium, there where the Dolphins play now, and then in the Orange Bowl, of course, before that. Maybe you could get away with saying Los Angeles because they've had the Coliseum Super Bowl and the Rose Bowl Super Bowl. Anyway, it's just something I was thinking about. And remember, whenever we are not live on television, it's a different program on the radio. So if you happen to tune in on Fox 47 in the Lansing area and you see that it's a best of or a repeat show going, when you get in the car to drive to work, don't forget to tune to 12:40 a.m. that morning because we might be on location and it might be a completely different show. So in the instance of yesterday, if you watched a best of on television, had you turned on the radio, 12:40 a.m. in the Lansing market, you would have heard us live from the Silverdome on the morning after the Super Bowl. And we got a chance to cover all of the events at the Super Bowl. We talked to Brian Rooney, the grandson of the founder of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's on the board of the Steelers, and his uncle Dan is the U.S. ambassador to Ireland. He was at the game. He lives in Michigan, and told us what it was like to be, one of the owners in the stands watching the Super Bowl. So remember, 12:40 a.m. in the Lansing market is where you want to go to listen on the radio, even because we're on location fairly often. 9 minutes after the hour right now, speaking of a location, how would you like to be in Cairo today? Demonstrations are going on. People formed a human chain and rushed the barricade. They didn't crash through. They just wanted to show that they could do it if they wanted to. It's the third week of demonstrations against the government there in Cairo. Gary Austin is the anchorman this morning. He's with us, too. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good, Michael Patrick. And, in fact, protesters are calling for more demonstrations today. They're not letting up. Apparently, more concessions are coming.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, from the Mubarak regime. But it looks like it all comes down to this. Unless he quits, the protesters aren't going to be happy. But it seems like the protesting, while it is going on, some schools, the stock market there, and other businesses that had been closed for a while are starting to reopen.
Little by little.
That will happen today. Yeah, little by little, but there's still a lot of unrest in Cairo.
Do you know what was the most watched television event in history? The Super Bowl the other night.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was. 111 million people tuned in to watch the Super Bowl.
So out of all the stuff ever on television,
that was number one
game, that was number one. Well, they had a chance to see Chrysler's 2-minute ad for that new Chrysler 200.
They sure did.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. You know, this is the buzz on the internet, even today. It featured, as we remember, Eminem, and a number of Detroit landmarks, some pretty cool stuff, including the flagpole at Tiger Stadium. There it was. As we know, that's the only part of the ballpark still standing. The voiceover was performed by a guy by the name of Kevin Yan. He's from Michigan, in fact, from West Michigan, the Grand Rapids area, from Rockford. And he told the Free Press when he thinks of Detroit, what comes to mind is sort of a tough place, and he tried to, in his rendition there, portray the city as a good place to visit. He said he recorded his favorite line about 100 times, but when it came to Eminem in the final quote of the cut, he said, "This is the Motor City, and this is what we do." It was a really cool ad, and they're still talking about it on the internet today.
We will listen to that line from that commercial coming up shortly, and Kevin Yan will join us in about 30 minutes.
Well,
to talk
how about
that.
that?
He's a star now,
great.
isn't he?
Yes, yeah. You know, and I understand that he didn't really know how his part was going to be portrayed until just a few days before the actual Super Bowl. He was told how it was going to be worked into the whole thing, so that's pretty cool.
We'll talk with him about that shortly. Also, President Obama is coming to Michigan. Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to the president of Northern Michigan University. That is Dr. Les Wong, who I have met in the past, and he is very proud today, I would think, because the president says that Marquette and Northern Michigan University is an example for the rest of the nation. The university is taking advantage of the latest technologies. It's the only university with the WiMAX 4G network, so we'll find out what that means. And you understand when you go to Northern Michigan University, every student is given a laptop by the college so they can stay connected and they can work. So the president's going to be there, and he's going to meet with Les Wong, and we'll talk with him about that this morning.
Well, that's pretty cool. Talk about advanced technology. You know, U.S. Senator Stabenow really wants to put this into overdrive, try to encourage more of us to really take a serious look at buying an electric vehicle. Here's what she wants to do. She wants to give us rebates of up to $7,500 for buying plug-in electric vehicles. It would also give businesses a tax credit, too, for buying medium or heavy-duty plug-in hybrid trucks. So she says do this, and it's going to spur sales. Stabenow says not only would the legislation get more of us to buy vehicles, to check them out, it would get more to work for the automakers making these cars and trucks to meet the increased demand. So one sort of feeds off another. U.S. Senator Stabenow backing that, introducing the legislation this week, and certainly she is hoping her colleagues in Congress go along with that.
We'll see what George Volman thinks of that, the Automotive Insider, coming up a little bit shortly. Speaking of the auto business, General Motors hourly workers are going to expect some of the largest profit-sharing checks ever. Those bonuses are going to be paid for money earned in 2010. And the UAW Vice President Joe Ashton, who oversees the union's labor relations with GM, says the bonuses are likely to top the average of $1,775 workers got for $19.99. That was the biggest payout to date. But how about that?
Yeah, you know, if we're looking for an indicator on how things are improving for the auto industry, boy, is that a sure sign or what? When those who work the line end up making more money by way of additional profit-sharing checks. I mean, if there ever is a sign that we're on the road to recovery, that certainly is it. Agreed?
However, final government conclusions are possible today. They're supposed to be due this report about the Toyota vehicles.
Yeah, that's really something.
It's an investigation, 10-month review ordered after massive Toyota recalls in 2009 and 2010 over that unintended acceleration.
Yeah.
The automakers insisted the throttles are sound, and they say it's linked to the pedals and the floor mats, but they wanted to have an investigation, and I guess we're going to find out later today whether or not that theory holds water.
Well, I think Toyota, if those who run the auto company, they've got to be happy about this. At least this chapter is closing. I mean, this ongoing thing,
Maybe.
Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, you know, it's going to come out sooner or later. I would think Toyota, just get this done and we can move on.
You know what is
gotta be
crazy?
thinking that.
I was sitting down in Captiva Island on Saturday night, and we were at a few of us were at an oceanside bar.
Oh, wait, hold on. Captiva, now, where's that for
It's
those of
in
us who don't know?
Southwest Florida.
Okay.
And they had a parking lot, and then they had picnic tables, and then they had the dunes and the ocean.
Yeah.
And we were sitting at a picnic table, and suddenly I looked over, and there was a Toyota parked right, facing the picnic table. And I said, you know what? I don't think I want to sit here, because what if whoever owns it comes and fires it up, and the unintended acceleration run us right over?
Did you really think that?
Yeah. So we moved.
Well,
I'm
I
not
wonder how
taking
many
any
others.
chances.
You wonder how many others think that. You never know. I hate to put you on the spot, Michael Patrick,
Sure
but I'm
you
going
do.
to right now. Here we go. Are you? Which team do you prefer when it comes right down to it? The Wolverines or the Spartans? Which side do you come down on?
I am divided and nonpartisan as usual. I love them both, and here's why.
Yeah.
I did attend. I got my political science undergrad at the University of Michigan.
Right.
And yet I live in East Lansing, and I've met the nicest people in the world at Michigan State. People like Susie Merchant and Coach Tom Izzo, and just everybody involved, all the alums and the whole thing. Mark Hollis and the rest, Russ White. So, I got to say I sit right on the line.
Well, very good. Well,
That's that's a cop-out answer, isn't it?
Well, that's okay. But, I've got a new survey out. And, I would say that there are quite a few in our state who are, they're more decided on who they're backing. And here we go. We've got the breakdown. It is razor close in our state, in this survey done. 34% say they are Wolverine fans. 33% say they are Spartan fans. 9% say they like both.
Yeah.
21% say they're not fans of either. About 81% of
Oh.
those who took part in the survey
Okay.
did not attend either university. And the survey is done by the Lansing-based group Resch Strategies put this together.
So I'm in the 9%, that's all.
You are.
Don't forget, I give a
And-
slice of it to CMU, too, because I went to school there for broadcasting.
Yep. I think I would fall in the 21% category because, like you got to be careful here. You can't be fans of either. In this business, we've
Both.
got to be impartial, right? So we say we're fans of both equally. Play it safe.
And I could University of Detroit, too. I went to school there, too, so I like the Titans.
You've been everywhere and done everything as detailed in your book.
Third, invite yourself to the party.
Yes.
What percentage of people have gone to inviteyourselftotheparty.com? I have a big stack of letters here, by the way.
You do.
That were sent to me by U.S. Post from people with the nicest comments about that book. It's so flattering.
Neat. That's
Inviteyourselftotheparty.com is where you can find it.
Well deserved.
We will have more news and analysis in sports, too, in 4 minutes. Stay right there. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Oh, is it President Obama since he's coming to Northern Michigan University? Not yet, but it is Les Wong coming up shortly, the president of Northern Michigan University, who'll be with the President of the United States a little bit later. Next, though, Auto Talk. George Volman, the Automotive Insider. You can find him at theautomotiveinsider.com, and he has spent his whole life in the auto business, and a couple of interesting stories I was dying to get his reaction to this morning. Good morning to you, George.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Good. I'm very curious to see the conclusions today about this throttle problem with the Toyota vehicles, massive recalls, and so the government issued a 10-month review, and they've investigated the concept that Toyota says it's the pedals and the floor mats, but nobody's really sure if it's something systemic in the engines. What do you think that study will show, if you know?
I think when it's all said and done, they're going to find out that a big piece of it was driver error. And then I think they're going to find out that the floor mats had probably little to do with it. There may have been a couple of them. That they may have an electronic glitch in the pedal assembly. When Toyota moved to immediately, as soon as the brake is tapped, the accelerator goes to zero regardless. They did that with computer programming. They fixed, whatever problem could possibly happen. But this happened to Audi, and the only difference is it looks like Toyota's going to survive it, where Audi had a big problem. It took them 2 decades to overcome it.
Wow. Okay. But, when you say driver error, how come it doesn't happen with other cars? It would stand to reason, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, and you know what? It's almost like the copycat thing in some respects, but I would imagine that there's probably a relationship between the way the pedals are yawed as well as the way they're placed in the automobile. And remember, Toyota's pedals are virtually identical regardless of their cars. And I think that's so naturally it would transcend and go across product lines into Lexus and so on. So I think they did probably some re-engineering there, some stuff that we may not know about.
Okay, we'll stay tuned for that. Now, Senator Stabenow pushing legislation designed to kickstart the sales of electric vehicles and result, she thinks, in more production of them. This would give consumers rebates of up to $7,500 for buying plug-in electric vehicles, and also businesses would get a tax credit for buying medium or heavy-duty plug-in hybrid trucks. The question is, I guess, the Volt already has a rebate attached to it. This rebate would be for all electric vehicles, and what do you think of that idea?
It's another cash for clunkers. It's not going to do anything. It will spike things up, and then all of a sudden it will fall back down to the base level. The government cannot legislate, whether it be with rebate or tax or whatever, demand at the consumer level. It's very difficult to do that, and it's not going to work. It's going to be a colossal waste of money. Sorry, that's just my opinion.
Wow. Okay. Well, no, I mean, you were in the front line at the retail level with the Volman Ford, and when you think about it, what got people to buy, and if it was a rebate, that's going to...
And I will, Michael, I'll leave you with one thought. When the rebate goes away, which it has to do because it can't sustain it, then guess what the consumer says? I'll wait for the next rebate till I'll buy my next electric car, or I'll buy my first electric car. Here we go. That's why it just doesn't make any sense for the government to do it.
Okay, General Motors hourly workers are going to get some of their largest profit-sharing checks ever. The bonuses for the money earned in 2010 are going to top the average of $1,775, according to the union. What do you make of that?
Well, it's probably contractual, and there's obviously a formula. It's very dangerous for General Motors. And unfortunately, they're not going to have much of a choice on this. Now, there are some rumors that they're going to throw some more money on top of it. They don't want to do that. I think it's just going to reignite, the issue with the government money, being involved with General Motors. I mean, it's the same criticism some people made of the M&M commercial with Chrysler, is that, they shouldn't have spent that kind of money, when they owe the government, and it just goes on and on. They don't need to be on the front page with that.
Well, the 2-minute ad that Chrysler ran is, maybe it's just here in Michigan, but it's been creating a huge media buzz, and I got to believe that, there's some value in that, too.
Well, there's no question. In the case of the M&M ad, and I'm not a big fan of M&M.
No.
I just thought that was a candy, you know what I mean? But when it was all said and done, I thought it was well done, and I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, well, I'm not nuts about him either necessarily, but I hear members of Congress, I hear all sorts of people in the media talking about Chrysler being back, or at least on the way back, and if that commercial in the Super Bowl created even the slightest measure of confidence in the company, that's great, right?
Right. And I just got back from the National Automobile Dealers Association convention, and I'll tell you the buzz there is a very positive, upbeat about the market, so things are coming back.
Remember, there was a guy that bought a Super Bowl commercial last year, ended up being the governor of Michigan, so be careful where you put your money, right?
There you go.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon, Travel. Oh, where were the meetings, by the way?
San Francisco.
Oh,
it was 65 degrees out there. It was a little bit tough coming back home.
Yeah, but now those National Automobile Dealers Association meetings in the past have always been pretty lavish, haven't they? How was this one?
It was going back up, but it was serious business. There was, there wasn't the fanfare that you used to have there, but it was all serious business. And like I said, the dealers were very upbeat, and so were the vendors.
All right, good to hear it. Nice to hear your voice again, too. That's George Woolman. You can find him at theautomotiveinsider.com. The Dow was up 69 yesterday. The S&P gained 8, and the NASDAQ added 15 points. Let me get you just a touch of sports here. Now, you heard Gary Austin say the state's pretty evenly divided between fans of the Wolverines and fans of the Spartans, but we're all fans of the Spartans women's basketball team. They have their 20th win of the season on the weekend, beating the Boilermakers 76-57. So congratulations to Susie Merchant and the Spartan women's basketball team. Pistons are back on the court tonight hosting the San Antonio Spurs. They have a 2-game winning streak, which is a lot for the Pistons this year. On the other side of the coin, how about the Cleveland Cavaliers? They have now lost an NBA record 25 games in a row without LeBron James, without Tom Izzo, and they are really on the skids there. The Red Wings had a 2-game losing streak going into last night's game with the Rangers at Joe Louis Arena. Radio broadcaster Ken Kal was there.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. Drew Miller netted the game-winning goal late in the third period as the Red Wings defeated the New York Rangers 3-2 last night at Joe Louis Arena. Neither team scored in the opening period. Jimmy Howard was sharp, stopping 13 Rangers shots. Martin Baron made 9 saves for New York. Pavel Datsyuk, in his first game back since December 22nd, scored his 13th goal of the campaign, giving Detroit a 1-0 lead. Derek Stepan and Brandon Dubinsky connected for New York in the third. Yuri Hudler and Drew Miller scored for the Wings. Detroit finished the game killing off a New York power play. Rangers outshot the Red Wings in the game 47-35. Again, the final score, Red Wings 3 and the Rangers 2. That's the story from Joe Louis Arena. Now back to you, Michael Patrick, in the studio.
That's pretty good, and to have Drew Miller do it, who grew up here in the Lansing area, played for the Michigan State Spartans, makes it even better. Mark Wilson and the prolonged Phoenix Open yesterday in Scottsdale birdied the second hole of sudden death playoff. He wins over Jason Duffner. They both finished at 18 under par, and the tournament was delayed from its normal Sunday finish because of fog and ice and frost in Phoenix, Arizona, if you can believe that. President Obama is expected to seek a moratorium on state tax increases. Hey, sounds good to me. And a suspension of interest payments on state debt in 2011 and 2012. He's trying to help states' unemployment insurance programs already burdened by debt. We are going to talk coming up shortly with Rich Studley, the executive director of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, because yesterday the president also spent some time with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and talked about his steps and the administration took to pull the economy out of the recession. I want to get the local reaction from Rich Studley. So if Rich Studley or anybody who knows him is listening this morning, and I know you are, please have him ring us at 888-900-9227. 9966. Grand Rapids city officials are going to meet today. There are two controversial events being proposed for downtown Grand Rapids, and the Downtown Alliance has advised the city commission to say no to River City Bike Week unless a host of issues are addressed. There's noise, accessibility to businesses, and parking. They also want the city to hold off on Rock the Rapids, which would be a music festival. That'll all be discussed today. Grand Haven is searching for a new public safety director. The city council voted to fire Dennis Edwards. They didn't really have a reason to do so, but city manager Pat McGinnis says he's mismanaged the public safety department. Edwards says it's a personality conflict between himself and McGinnis. And longtime Zeeland Mayor Les Hoogland is going to retire when his term ends this year. He's 81 years old. Wow, he's been the mayor for 22 years, so congratulations to him. Long may he reign. Building inspectors in Grand Rapids, they are roaming the city, following up on hundreds of complaints of unshoveled sidewalks. Violation notices are going up on homes when the snow remains piled up high. You got 48 hours to clear the path, or you're going to get fines. And if Grand Rapids city workers have to come clear your sidewalk, the fine could be between $150 and $300, which might be a decent price to pay if you have a lot of snow and you don't feel like shoveling it. Somebody held up a BP station in Coopersville. Deputies say that he walked in, told the clerk he had a gun, and got away with cash. That Ottawa County Sheriff's Department says he's 5'6" tall, white man, brown hair, wearing a black hoodie. If you know anything about it, contact the Ottawa Sheriff's Department. MEEP testing could get tougher. Lots of news this morning. The State Board of Education will raise, perhaps, the passing scores on state standardized tests. That could mean thousands more students and hundreds more schools won't meet proficiency levels. As we keep raising the bar, the board is also expected to recommend Governor Snyder broader education reform that calls for revamping the teacher tenure system. We are going to reach out this morning to Michael Patrick Flanagan, the state superintendent of schools, get his reaction to this. Al Pease, who led Percepton Incorporated for 12 years, now in private consulting, says he may run for United States Senate against United States Senator Debbie Stabenow. He's a CEO from a Plymouth-based automotive company, and he, along with Saul Lanusis, former auto executive Tim Luliette, Terry Lynn Land, and Pete Hoekstra, right now are the expected candidates, but we're going to ask Mike Rogers what he thinks about getting into the race tomorrow. I'm told he's very happy now as the chair of the Intelligence Committee under a Republican administration. Grand Rapids area woman said gambling led her to embezzle $600,000 from Huntington Bank. She pled guilty, Joanne Waranga did, in federal court. Gambling caused her to steal money for 7 years at Huntington Bank, the branch in Grand Rapids there. She took money from customer accounts and the vault. And now she's got to stay away from casinos and go to Gamblers Anonymous meetings. What else? Wait till you hear this. Can you get fired for bad-mouthing your boss? The answer, and you may want to know this for today when you get to the office, it's coming shortly. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan. All right, so Eminem gets a lot of publicity for the Chrysler spot, and so he should, I guess, right? But Kevin Yan was the Michigan-based voiceover of that Chrysler Super Bowl commercial. He's a resident of Rockford, Michigan, thespian voiceover talent and freelancer. And if you missed the spot, didn't see it on the Super Bowl, didn't hear us play it yesterday, here's what it sounded like.
I got a question for you. What does this city know about luxury? Huh? What does a town that's been to hell and back know about the finer things in life? Well, I'll tell you, more than most. You see, it's the hottest fires that make the hardest steel. Add hard work and conviction, and the know-how that runs generations deep in every last one of us. That's who we are. That's our story. Now, it's probably not the one you've been reading in papers, the one being written by folks who've never even been here and don't know what we're capable of. Because when it comes to luxury, it's as much about where it's from as who it's for. Now, we're from America, but this isn't New York City, or the Windy City, or Sin City, then we're certainly no one's Emerald City.
Kevin Yan is the voice you just heard there in the Chrysler commercial, and he's on the other end of our line. Thanks for taking the call. I imagine your phone's ringing off the hook these days.
Good morning. It's been kind of crazy the last couple of days.
Yeah, you did probably a lot of free talking, right?
That's all right. I don't have a problem with that at all. How are you this morning, Michael?
Well, I'm so proud of you and happy for the state of Michigan that the kind of buzz. And we hear now that Fox, that broadcast was the most watched TV program in history. 111 million viewers tuned in.
All I want is a buck ahead.
That would be pretty good, wouldn't it? That's all it would take. And maybe next time they'll ask you to sing the national anthem, but you better have a teleprompter.
I don't know if I could do much better job, but
yeah, Christina
Aguilera.
Isn't
that something? It's amazing to me. This whole little journey over the last couple of days has been really something.
When and where did you tape the voiceover?
Actually, I taped it through Grand Rapids into a studio in L.A. Not in early December. I auditioned just before Christmas.
Any idea?
January and the early part of February. I was brought into the studio and tweaked and played and gave different reads and so forth. And it wasn't actually up until 4 days before the Super Bowl that I knew it was going to happen on the Super Bowl. But, yeah, pretty cool. It was very cool. And the first time I saw it was Super Bowl night. I saw no pictures at all. But,
wow.
Pretty cool. I got to admit, it's a great spot.
So you saw no storyboard, you saw no video. The directors just told you, here's what we're looking for. What's your interpretation?
Right. Yeah. They didn't tell me really. I mean, they guided me definitely. They said they gave me basically what they wanted in an attitude and told me a little bit about what the spot was and I guess my image of Detroit. I tried to represent that a little bit in the voiceover. You know, I've always been pretty amazed at Michigan and Detroit, and I moved out here about 30 years ago. It's always amazed me how back and the pride that they have. But I've always visioned Detroit as raw and hard and tough and gritty and grisly, and it ended up being, hopefully delivered that a little bit in the voice work. So. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to work. It went okay. It's so much more than just a car spot. I think it's made quite a few statements, and actually, I think it said a few things that people or companies have wanted to say for a long time, and these guys just dug it out and found it and came up with it.
Yeah, it's very stirring. But would you mind telling us how much you made for that voiceover?
I have no idea yet.
What do you mean? What do you mean? How can you not know?
Well, I mean, I know what I made for the sessions, but I don't know what it's based on where it's played and how many times it's played. But I got to imagine that the fact that it's been on the Super Bowl is going to cover the rent for a month.
So that's how it works. You get a little front end for the read, and then you get a percentage of number of times it's played, that kind of thing?
Right. My understanding is that where it's played, what time of day it's played, the viewership, that kind of thing. It's all based on that.
Wow.
So we'll find out pretty soon.
Will your rate go up now?
Pardon me?
Will your rate go up now?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. And actually, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Well, we're so proud of you. Congratulations on behalf of the entire state of Michigan.
I really appreciate your call and the support. It's been an amazing thing. I've gotten emails and texts from people I have no idea who they are and I've never met. I don't know how they got my stuff, but it's really affected a lot of people, and I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah,
very cool.
We are too. Congratulations to you. That's Kevin Yan, the voiceover for the Chrysler Super Bowl commercial with Eminem at 14 before the hour. We'll keep in touch. We often have a segment called Tell Me Something Good because we like good news, as we just heard on this program. How about that? Kevin Yan, the voiceover right here from Grand Rapids. Dr. Christine Teneglia, my wife, dentist of the stars, is here, and the round table table here in our Gillespie Group storefront studio. You've got something good going on today?
Well, yes, there's a lot of good going around in Michigan, and what I have going on is the Rotary Club that I belong to, the Hazlet Okemos Rotary Club, which is a worldwide organization, the Rotary. We have a fundraiser today, and it's called the Hero Luncheon, and what we try to do is we promote the local heroes in our area, and that could be anybody like this Kevin Yan, who's promoting Detroit in a good way, or
firefighters, police, that kind of thing, teachers.
Girl Scouts, too, I think, are
Girl
people
Scouts.
who are heroes in the community. We all do something positive and give back to the community. So what we're doing is Outback Steakhouse in Okemos, which is across from the Meridian Mall, has been gracious enough to let us have their restaurant, open it up for the luncheon day today. And the Rotary Club are going to be the servers. So you can come in for a ticket price of $20, and you'll get your choice of a steak, fish, or chicken, or a vegetarian meal. And it's a lot of fun. We have a clown in there who makes balloon hats, and the music's loud, and it's real lively. And
So for $20, you can get a full lunch at the Outback today and all that entertainment, too, and meet some people and network. There'll be lots of well-known people in town and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
What time does it start?
It starts at 11:30, and we serve till about 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Okay, so you got to eat, right? So you got to have lunch somewhere. You might as well go to the Outback. It's on Marsh Road, right, across from the Meridian Mall.
Correct, on the end where Yonkers is. And, of course, there'll be local celebrities such as yourself there. So I'm sure they might want to come and meet you.
I'll be there for sure. And you take your staff to lunch or something. It's only $20, so you know what you're in for. And are you going to be dressed up in a firefighter costume, or you've worn outfits in the past? You're going to do that again?
I've worn different hero outfits, but I don't know until I get there, until somebody surprises me usually.
Oh, and it tells you what to wear? Okay, that's today. Oh, by the way, what is Rotary?
Rotary, it's a community service organization in which we have different levels. We have local, state, and international. And you can go anywhere in the world and put Rotary in Google, and you can find a local meeting. It's made up of business people in the community, and our goal is to raise money to do positive things, whether it's on a local, state, or international level.
So essentially you meet for lunch once a week and have a speaker and network. Is it good for your business?
It's great for my business. I mean,
Get to
you meet
meet people.
community leaders and people who really have an understanding of what's important for the businesses, and that's giving back to the community, because the community supports our businesses, so we want to support the community in whatever needs it is that they have.
Going to have any cookies at lunch?
Cookies? We will have a little treat, but I'm sure we could get some Girl Scout cookies over there.
Meredith Allen is here, the daughter of former State Senator Jason Allen and Suzanne Allen, and this is your second appearance, your second year coming back to the program. You got something tasty for us, don't you?
Yeah, I'm selling Girl Scout cookies.
Girl Scout cookies, it's an annual tradition. It's the harbinger of spring. We love it. Any new flavors this year?
No, actually, we have all the same ones we did last year.
You got that cranberry, what was that cranberry cookie?
Thank you very munches. Those are.
Thank you very much. And what else? What are the other flavors?
Thin Mints, they're top sellers.
Thin Mints are the top sellers.
Samoas are my favorite.
Is that the coconut one?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the one with the little peanut butter pad in the middle, the chocolate one?
The Tagalongs.
Tagalongs.
Yeah.
I could eat a whole box of those with a glass of milk, of course. How much does a box cost?
$3.50 a box.
That's all for a whole box of cookies. How many have you sold so far?
1,000 boxes.
1,000 boxes.
Yeah.
And you sell some, you provide some to some very special people, don't you?
Yeah, we're sending them overseas to the troops. So we've adopted the 1-119th and Soldiers Without Family Support. So, yeah.
So I can buy a box for myself and buy a box for the soldiers too?
Yep.
And you'll send them over there?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's fantastic. And that's why the lady sitting right next to you here, Dotsie Mason, you have a son who is in the military overseas?
I do. My son is deployed with the 119th in Kuwait and will be one of the recipients of the cookies.
All
and
right.
I just wanted to thank Meredith for the wonderful things that she's doing, because that's really sending a little bit of home over to the troops.
How many did you send over last year?
Last year, my whole troop, we sent over almost 1,000 boxes.
Wow. And you're going to send probably, sounds like maybe even more this year, huh?
Yeah.
Was your son there last year?
He is not. They were deployed in September, and they will be back this next September.
How often do you get to talk to him?
Actually, we get to talk to him quite often. Mostly he talks to his wife, I think, almost on a daily basis
Yeah.
on Skype.
Yeah.
And we talk to him probably once or twice a week. And
Where is he exactly?
They're in Kuwait.
And how's he doing?
They're doing well.
Yeah.
They're doing well. They miss home, and we all miss them, but their spirits are good, and they're doing well.
There's nothing like getting a box of Girl Scout cookies when you're in such a faraway land, right?
Absolutely.
Boy, congratulations. So how do we reach you? How do we get in touch with you to buy some of these cookies?
Well, you can email me
Yeah.
at pinkmea1@gmail.com.
Okay. Pink, MEA1. Okay. At Gmail.
Yep.
And how else?
You can call my mom's cell phone.
Uh-oh, better not give that on the air. She's a power broker in the Republican Party and state government. We can't give her. What we'll do is we'll put your email address at michigantalknetwork.com under the podcasts. And anybody who wants to find you, they can stop here at the studio. We'll direct them to you so they can get to you.
Okay.
And we'll make the arrangement, and we'll get a bunch of cookies here too, okay?
Yay.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to everybody for the great charity involvement in the state of Michigan here, and give our best to your son if you get a chance
Thank
to
you
talk
very
to him.
much. I
Say
will.
his name again for us.
Peter Mason.
Peter Mason. Not enough we can do for the men and women overseas. See you later today, too, at the Hero Lunch at Outback, $20 in Okemos across from Meridian Mall. It's Michael Patrick Shields back in a flash. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields back in the studio after having been at the Silverdome yesterday on the morning after the Super Bowl. We were at a super venue, if you remember, that Silverdome, which has sat idle for a number of years now, was actually the site of a Super Bowl between the 49ers and the Bengals many, many years ago. And then just a couple of years ago at Ford Field, we had the Super Bowl. So we were broadcasting live from the Silverdome because that's the site of the new sort of replacement for the State Fair that's going to be happening this September, this Labor Day weekend. The announcement was yesterday. So remember, if you happen to be watching on Fox 47 and you see that we're in a repeat or a best of, don't forget to turn to AM 1240 in the Lansing area because we may be on location or we may be live somewhere and the show will always be different. So if you watch it on TV in the morning and then you get in the car, flip over to 1240 and stay with us on the radio in the Lansing area. We're on the rest of the state, too, on radio stations all over on the Michigan Talk Network, including Traverse City. And it's a Traverse City Tuesday brought to you by the Traverse City Visitors and Convention Bureau. You can plan your trip to Traverse City at traversecity.com. And we've got a couple of people from the Traverse City area right here. Dignitaries, if you will, elected officials. State Representative Wayne Schmidt, the Republican from Traverse City. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
And Frank Foster, the freshman representative from Pellston. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for being available this morning. You had a couple of snow days last week. I don't know if it's worth even talking about. Some people said you should have stayed at work. Some people say it was smart and wise to stay out. But nevertheless, you're back to work now and going to get after some issues this week, I understand, pretty quickly.
We are. First thing I'm dealing with in Commerce Committee is item pricing. We're going to be taking a little more testimony today. We're also going to be hearing from MEDC Director Michael Finney. He's going to be coming in and talking to the committee. So very excited about that.
Where do you stand on the item pricing, or are you still making up your mind? Now, just to recap, this is because in Michigan you have to have a price tag on every single item in the store, not just one on the shelf to represent all the boxes, let's say, right?
I agree with what Governor Snyder rolled out in the State of the State. It's a regulation now that's outlived its usefulness. It costs businesses approximately $2.2 billion a year, whether it's in misuse of staff. I mean, because instead of helping customers, they're marking things.
Hundreds of boxes in some cases.
Hundreds of thousands. So I think it's time for it to go. We took testimony on it. We see that 48 other states do not have anything like this. Most of the states don't even have any type of item pricing. I think Representative Lisa Lyons, who introduced the bill, did a great job of making sure the consumer protections were still in there, the bounty provisions and other things, but gets rid of that item where you have to do this all day, marking boxes. So we've taken the testimony. We've heard what the people have to say, businesses. We've also heard from labor and consumer groups. We think we've worked out the good deals. Take a little more testimony today, and then hopefully in the next day or two put out a good bill to the House floor.
Representative Foster, the other item, as I understand it, is we're going to talk about tourism funding this week, too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Pier Michigan. We continue to take testimony. Tuesday we had mom and pops and big Amway Grand Plaza hotel owners and people like that all in the committee. It's a good cross-section of the state, from the UP down to southeast Michigan, Sterling Heights. So, but now we vote on it. So this is Representative Schmidt's bill. We've been PRing it over the weekend. Everyone else took a snow day. Wayne and I were actually in the office making follow-up calls, making sure all the members had the information they needed to make an informed vote. Wayne ducked out of it, but on Thursday I went down the ice luge in Muskegon to talk about Pier Michigan, 17.4 seconds. Yes, it did. And
that's all it takes is 17 seconds?
Well, the interesting thing is we're going up halfway, and I'm afraid of heights. And I said, I'm not going up that way. They go, it's all right. It takes 17 seconds to get down from halfway. If you go all the way up, it takes 17 seconds. So you're only on the luge for about 17 seconds. That's how fast you're going.
Is it like an icy water slide, sort of?
With a little less control, I'd say.
Oh.
So, yeah.
You just ride it to the bottom.
Yeah.
That's why I passed.
I finished on my rear, but...
you guys could have done the two-man luge. That would have been fun.
No, I'm not that dedicated.
Yeah.
We heard yesterday about agriculture and how important it is to Governor Snyder, too, when we were at the Silver Dome for that announcement of this Michigan Agricultural Festival that'll sort of fill the void that the state fair left after 160 years. So we're looking at tourism and agriculture, obviously manufacturing. But those two items are hot in the news, and Governor Snyder, in addition to backing tourism in your bill, is talking about the importance of agriculture in the state, too.
It's our second largest industry. It's over the last 8 years, the previous administration has chose to cut it for whatever the funding, the resources to it. Now, again, they've come out of that, and they've been successful, and they've actually grown their industry. We need to give them the tools. Things like Michigan State Extension really help the rural areas where Wayne and I are from. And so we need to continue to give the resource. That's a competitive edge. I look at it the same as tourism. It can be competitive. We want to not divest away from manufacturing, but invest in other industries too now.
The money for the tourism promotion, it's already in the kitty, right? It's not going to cost anybody anything.
Correct.
Okay.
It's in the 21st Century Jobs Fund. And what my bill does is allocates money that's already been put there. We're not taking it from other places. We took $15 million approximately last year, if you remember our marathon session in December. So we had $15 million in place. For the fiscal year, we were looking for a $25 million buy or monies going towards Pier Michigan. This will be an additional $10 million from the 21st Century Jobs Fund. And the good thing about that is that traditionally the 21st Century Jobs Fund has been accused of, well, picking this winner or that winner, or sometimes losers, if you will. But featuring it with Pier Michigan means the entire state wins. And we've seen that the tourism industry, although that's sometimes a bit of a misnomer, because it's really a collection of all sorts of industries. It's not just hotels, motels, campgrounds.
Gas stations.
It's gas stations, sometimes, unfortunately, auto repair.
Convenience stores.
Convenience stores, you name it. Retail, and while sometimes some places are a little more geared toward tourism than other parts of the state, really, anytime somebody's driving through, and that's what they have to do in Michigan, they're going to be stopping, and it really does spread the wealth.
You guys are Republicans. We're going to have a presidential election when you're having your reelect, I would think, in 2 years. And this is what I'm going to have Rachel Chavez here, our production assistant, play the role of Sarah Palin. Apparently, there was an interview done with her about the situation in Egypt by David Brody of the Christian Broadcasting Network, and the New York Times has printed the transcript of her answer about how she believes the president has handled the situation in Egypt. Here's what Sarah Palin said.
And nobody yet has explained to the American public what they know. And surely they know more than the rest of us know who it is who will be taking the place of Mubarak. And no, not real enthused about what it is that's being done on a national level and from D.C. in regards to understanding all the situation there in Egypt. And in these areas that are so volatile right now, because obviously it's not just Egypt, but other countries too, where we are seeing uprisings, we know that now more than ever, we need strength and sound mind there in the White House. We need to know what it is that America stands for, so we know who it is that America will stand with. And we do not have all that information yet.
Could be a lot of candidates in that presidential field, so you're gonna have some options.
Yeah, I'm not. Where's Mike Rogers? Mr. Rogers, where are you? Call in now, please. No, I think that
You wouldn't win a beauty pageant with that answer, would you?
no.
Probably not. I hadn't heard that one though.
Yeah, we give you the transcript if you want.
Sure,
That's
I
okay.
believe you. Well, we're going to welcome all to Mackinac Island, I think, for the 2012 election. So we'll have some good options, and we can vet them. But that field's pretty crowded, and the other side's got one candidate. We know that, so we have to prepare.
Well, thanks a million for being here this morning. You're on your way back to the Capitol, and the roads are clear in Traverse City and Pellston. I mean, they had less snow than we did down here, right?
Yep, but it was good snow over the weekend. Just as a quick note, we were up at the I-500. I was up in Frank's district. Great race up there. That was incredible.
Call me. What is the I-500?
It's a large snowmobile race in the UP.
Oh,
It's
Sarah
500
Palin,
miles.
she's been to that, if I'm
I
not
think she
mistaken,
might.
and her
And
husband Todd.
So was Rick Snyder. So
Oh,
they're going
was
to come
he?
back next year. Yep. Governor Snyder's going to come
Do
back.
they go in an oval?
Yeah.
Wow, that must be a hell of
For
a
about
race.
6 hours they do.
Yeah, 500-mile race.
Wow.
That's what it is, hence the International 500.
Yeah, that must have been a gas. I'm supposed to go to a dog sled race in Marquette.
Marquette, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, the president, of course, is coming to Marquette this week to Northern Michigan University. That's nice for the state of Michigan.
That's always gives us a little better profile for the UP. We'll be, of course, here working in Lansing. So.
Yes, right. But I'll be at there's a dog sled race in Marquette, the UP 200 in a couple of weeks. These
Good.
traditions are fantastic, aren't
We have
they?
the dog sled races in Kalkaska, too. You'll have to come up for those sometime.
All right. Hey, it's pure Michigan. That's what it
That's
all
right.
is, and it's a Traverse City Tuesday. And if you want to plan any of these trips, go to traversecity.com, and welcome back to town.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it very much. That is State Representative Wayne Schmidt, the Republican from Traverse City. That Pure Michigan bill is his bill. And Frank Foster, the freshman state representative from Pellston, typically the coldest spot in the state, but they'll heat things up down the street at the Capitol today. It's 18 minutes after the hour. When we get back, the president of Northern Michigan University, Les Wong, on how he will welcome the President of the United States on Thursday. The President of the United States, President Barack Obama, coming to Michigan, coming to Marquette, to Northern Michigan University. And anytime the president comes to the state, which it seems like he has relatively often in his presidency, we're all proud. And nobody could be prouder, I would think, than Dr. Les Wong, the president of Northern Michigan University, who I presume will meet with the president later this week. Good morning, President Wong.
Good morning.
Northern Michigan University, the Upper Peninsula, Marquette, founded in 1899, now a population of 9,400 students. And suddenly, what was known as the UP's largest university is going to be the focus of the entire nation because the president has said through the White House some very flattering things about what you do at Northern Michigan University.
Well, we're very excited to not only get the president's attention, but perhaps even share our knowledge of technology with the rest of the country.
That's why the president is coming, isn't it? He was very impressed by the way you, more than any other university in the nation, as I understand it, have taken advantage of the latest technology.
Well, we were fortunate enough to secure a WiMAX license approximately a year and a half ago on a trial basis with the FCC, and we told them that, you know, we're a remote area, we have students on and off campus, and as you know, a lot of trees and hills and water, and if anybody could test out this new technology, we could do it, and they allowed us to. And then it moved to a permanent license, and so we're very proud to be able to extend a pretty efficient wireless network to the surrounding area.
WiMAX 4G, which is beyond my expertise when it comes to the internet, but I do know that every student that comes to the university is presented with a laptop from the university in order to stay connected and to advance their education.
Well, we've had the system for about 10 years now, almost 12. We just felt that we wanted to eliminate the digital divide on campus, and we didn't want the students with the most money and the biggest toys to have an advantage over others, and that has worked out well for us.
When did you get the news that President Obama would be coming to Northern?
Actually last Thursday. And we were given a heads up, and boy, did it create a buzz among my staff. And as typical protocol, they wanted us to keep quiet until the White House made the announcement, I believe, Friday afternoon.
And is that one of those things where you say to yourself, am I on candid camera? Is this really, I mean, that's how I would feel.
Well, yes, you do, and you start thinking, geez, we have a pretty respectful yet open environment here, and I thought, I wonder if my staff is teasing me a bit now, or what, but is it true? And it turns out it was.
Will you meet, you'll meet the president when he comes, right?
Yes, I will.
Any idea? Have you ever met a president before, a United States president?
Yes, I have. On my 13th day of being the president of Northern back in 2004, President Bush came to campus.
What was that like?
Oh, that was just incredible. He's a nice, warm man. It was a re-election and visit to the Upper Peninsula, and we held his event in the Superior Dome, and it was just really wonderful.
Will there be any access to the president for the students? Is it going to be a speech or a forum of some sort, or is it just a private visit?
No, we're going to have a relatively small event, probably somewhere around 1,000 or more students. One of the conditions that we talked about, and one of the conditions the president wanted, was to meet with students.
Wow, how do you decide who gets to, when you've got 9,000 students, 9,400 students, I'm sure they would all like a chance to at least say hello.
Yes, they would, and we're working through that today to try and figure out a fair way to get tickets to students.
Do you think about what you're going to say to the president when you meet him, or do you just let it happen naturally?
Well, my staff teases me about being better off the cuff than prepared, so I'm not sure what. I've been certainly thinking about it since last Thursday. Clearly, I'll tell him he's come to a great part of the country, and we're trying to do what he's asked the country to do.
Do you know, the interesting thing is, I would guess, now this is just a guess, but when you think about Marquette and you think about Northern Michigan University, people who have never been there or who don't know anything about it probably imagine it's very rural, it's very isolated, it's very distant, and it is on the shore of Lake Superior. It's a beautiful place to be, but they probably don't equate it with technology.
Yeah, that's a perception we hope the president will help us change. Mm-hmm. We certainly have attracted students from around the world and around the United States because of our technology and the fact that if you're an English major or a history major or philosophy major, you're also going to be part of a technology-rich environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to coming. The word is that I'm going to broadcast. It won't be as big a deal as when the president comes, but I'll be there a couple of weeks from now for the UP 200. Pat Pritchard is going to put it together from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we're going to broadcast from the dog sled race there and speak with you, hopefully in person, and lots of members of the Northern Michigan University team. And I'm very much looking forward to that as we learn more and more about Northern Michigan University and what a credit it is to the state. And we can't thank you enough for putting Michigan and Northern Michigan University on the map nationally when the president comes.
Well, we're just proud to put Michigan on the map in terms of the technology environment, and hopefully you and the president will help Northern tell its story to a much larger crowd.
The last time I saw you, we were standing in the Comerica Park in the booth watching the Tiger game, and I would imagine when we meet in a couple of weeks, it's going to be a lot colder than that.
Well, the dog sled races, the UP 200, are really, really exciting, and it will convey to a lot of people, your listeners, that just because it's cold doesn't mean you can't have fun.
I heard that. Thank you very much, President Wong. Good luck with the president this week, and we'll talk on Friday morning after your meeting, if that's okay.
All right. That's terrific.
All the best. That's 30 minutes after the hour. That's Les Wong, the president of Northern Michigan University, and we will chat with him about how it all goes on Friday morning after President Obama comes to town. I wanted to get your thoughts on a story that's making national news this morning. Have you ever criticized your boss? Have you ever criticized your boss sort of in a hushed tone around the water cooler, as they say, if they still have water coolers, because people drink bottled water now? I don't know. I'm just saying. Have you ever said, that son of a gun, he or she, and you whispered it. Maybe they caught you saying it. Maybe you said it on Facebook. My boss is a weasel. You ever done that? Well, there's a woman who not only whispered it, not only said it, she wrote it on Facebook, and the boss saw it. Oh, I'm a weasel, huh? Actually, I think she called him a mental patient, is what she called him. And so the company fired her for saying that about the boss on the internet, on Facebook. Well, now, of course, it went to court, and the National Labor Relations Board sued the company last year, arguing that the workers' negative comments are protected speech under federal labor laws. And so there is a settlement now between the company and the woman. And so the message is that employers should think twice before they try to stop workers from talking about their jobs on Facebook or social media or anywhere. What do you make of that? It's a private settlement. The terms were not disclosed, but it didn't make it all the way to court because the company settled. 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. It's not like the person gave away any company secrets. It wasn't that. It was just criticism of the boss. Do you think it's okay to criticize your boss in a whisper, in a shout, in a letter, or even on Facebook? 888-900-9966 is the number to call with your opinion on this. I'm not sure what to think about it. I guess if the boss knows that you're unhappy, and maybe you're poisoning the attitudes of other workers by saying, undermining the boss, can they fire you for that? It's a right-to-work state. I don't know. Would have to speak to a lawyer about those details, but in this case, anyway, it led to a settlement. Now, I know that when you're hiring someone, sometimes you'll look on their Facebook page and see what sort of antics they've been up to on there. But what about if they're criticizing the very company that pays them? Is that disloyal, or is that protected speech? Something to think about. 888-900-9966. Which way do you come down? You think it's perfectly fine? The boss is the boss, and he ought to be able to, he or she ought to be able to take that kind of criticism because we're in your leadership position. Not everybody's going to like you. Or do you think that it's disloyal? After all, they are giving you a paycheck. It's a tough economy. You want your job. You like your job. You have to really go around criticizing the boss. Which way do you come down? 888-900-9966. We would enjoy hearing from you on this. In the case of a woman who was settled with a company, they fired her because she criticized the boss on Facebook. And so the National Labor Relations Board sued, and they ended up coming to a settlement. 888-900-9966. It was from her home computer, by the way. You're probably asking. It was hours after her supervisor said a customer complained about her work. And it was an expletive-filled posting referring to her supervisor as a psychiatric patient. And the remarks drew supportive posts from colleagues. So they were all saying, yeah, you're right, he is a mental patient. So it was more than just the lady who posted it. She was sort of gathering a little protest steam there. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. We're on the lookout this morning for Rich Studley, the executive director of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I want to get his reaction to what happened yesterday as the President of the United States reached out to the National Chamber of Commerce to sort of defend his efforts to revive the economy because they've been really not fast friends, let's put it that way, the President and the National Chamber of Commerce. So what does Rich Studley think? I'd like to get his local react on that too, and we'll search for him shortly. It's 35 minutes after the hour. Doug in Lansing is ringing in with comment. I've got 30 seconds before the break. Doug, what do you think?
Real quick, as far as being an at-will employee, I guess if you value your job, you will not, talk badly about your employer. I think doing it in that way on the social media networks kind of doesn't show a lot of character either. Tends to belittle, a person. I mean, have a little pride, and if you have a problem with your boss, take it up with your boss, at your place of employment, not through the internet.
Keep it in the family, says Doug in Lansing. He's ringing in at 888-900-9966. At-will employees is the phrase I was looking for, sure. 35 after the hour, more. In 4 minutes, it's Michael Patrick Shields. 20 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan. And the case of a woman fired over Facebook comments is what we're talking about this morning. Fired, but then a settlement. And who knows how big the settlement was because it's a secret. She criticized her boss on Facebook. Some of the other employees said, "Here, here," posted responses. Company fired her. They felt it was disloyal. But the lawsuit came in from the National Labor Relations Board, and so they settled somehow there. They won't discuss the terms and conditions. So we don't know, but the point of the matter is the company obviously settled, so it's not a victory for the company. They must have given her something to go away, and now employers should think twice before trying to restrict workers from talking about their jobs on Facebook or on other social media or in general. How do you feel about that? Does that tie the hands of the boss if you've got, an employee who's unpleasant and negative and maybe criticizing the boss and getting the other employees all riled up too? Does that tie your hands if you're an employer? Or protected speech is protected speech. Is that how it goes? We will take your calls right now. We'd love to hear your opinion at 888-900-9966. That's 888-900-9966. Some people who are definitely not being quiet are the anti-government protesters in Cairo. They've formed a human chain today and vowed not to leave until President Hosni Mubarak and his regime leave office. They tried to shut them down there, too. The Egyptian government tried to shut down the internet and cell service and all that sort of thing, too, to keep people quiet. Senator Debbie Stabenow pushing legislation now to kickstart the sales of electric vehicles. She thinks you ought to get about a $7,500 credit for buying a plug-in electric vehicle, and businesses could get a credit for buying heavy-duty plug-in hybrid trucks. Now, you already get $8,000 if you buy a Chevy Volt, which brings the price down to somewhere around $33,000. But George Volman joined us earlier, the Automotive Insider, and he says it's another cash for clunkers, it's another stopgap, it's another thing that won't work because buyers will simply wait until they get a credit and then buy it, and when the credit runs out, they won't. Now, he ought to know, of course. After all, he was in the auto business his whole career. Now he's at the automotiveinsider.com. Speaking of autos, there will be an announcement today about this investigation into Toyota. They had all of those massive recalls in 2009 and 2010 over unintended acceleration. And then the company Toyota says, it's not the throttle, it's the pedal and the carpet and that kind of thing. And the government said, are you sure about that? Well, we're going to get the answers today in this report, and we'll have coverage of it, of course, tomorrow. Grand Rapids city officials are going to meet today. These festivals that are talking about coming to downtown Grand Rapids, one of them is River City Bike Week, bunch of motorcycles coming in, and the Downtown Alliance has told the city council, why don't you say no to that? Because we've got noise, we've got issues about access to business, parking, and so forth. And there's something called Rock the Rapids, a music festival, and they've also asked the city to hold off on that. So we'll see how that goes today in the meetings. And if you haven't shoveled your snow in Grand Rapids, and I presume other parts of the state as well, you might get a fine. There are inspectors roaming the city looking for people who haven't shoveled their sidewalks. Violation notices are going up on homes if the snow is piled up. You'll have 48 hours to clear a path, or you could face fines. And if the city has to come and clear the sidewalk for you, well, they'll charge you a fine between $150 and $300, which I'm just sort of doing the math on. And if it's really big snow and you don't feel like getting out there, $150 might be a pretty good price to be able to sit inside and watch The Price is Right while the city cleans your sidewalk. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. The State Board of Education today is going to consider a plan to raise the passing scores on state standardized tests like the MEP test. If you want to consider being a passing score, the bar could be raised a little higher. We're on the lookout for Michael Patrick Flanagan, the superintendent of state public schools, about that. Should we raise the bar in the state of Michigan? He says in the article that I'm reading from the Detroit News that the current score level gives a false sense that the students are on track to enter college or trade programs when far too many are not. He says it needs to change. Now, they give this MEP test to 3rd through 8th graders, and the MME is given to 11th graders. And he doesn't want any false sense of accomplishment because maybe the bar is too low. We'll get it right from the horse's mouth when we can reach him this morning. There's a fellow called Al Pease. He is from Plymouth. He was the former CEO and president of an advanced automotive company. He says he's considering a run for the United States Senate as a Republican against Senator Debbie Stabenow. Other potential Republican candidates, Saul Lanusis, Tim Luliette, who was also an automotive executive, Terry Lynn Land, the former Secretary of State, and former Congressman Pete Hoekstra are the names that are talked about the most, although Mike Rogers' name, the congressman, has been put in that list too, so we'll talk with him about that and his potential for running against Senator Stabenow tomorrow morning. Christina Aguilera flubbed the national anthem, and now she's apologizing, saying she got caught up in the moment. She hopes that everyone can feel her love for the country, and that's all about that. Now, Mary Steenburgen is 58. We say that because we never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. She's Ted Danson's wife. You would have seen her in Parenthood and Philadelphia, and most recently on the Larry David show, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And Mary McCormick, who was on The West Wing and lots of other programs too, is 42. Happy birthday, darlings, to you. Could a cell phone bring down an airliner? If you ever fly, you know, they tell you to turn off your cell phones. What if you left it on? Could it bring down an airliner? We'll find out soon, coming shortly. And also, more on that item pricing law. Are you for it or against it? Stay tuned. It's Michael Patrick Shields. 10 minutes before the hour, Rich Studley, the executive director of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, is on the other end of our line because I wanted to get his local reaction to President Obama yesterday reaching out to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Mr. Studley. Thanks for being available.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Appreciate that very much. I don't know if you heard any of the president's comments, but if you haven't, I'd like to play them for you because the Chamber and the White House have been feuding apparently for a couple of years, disputes over the new financial regulations and health care reform. And, you know, the Chamber is the nation's top business lobbying group, just like it is in the state of Michigan, where the Michigan Chamber of Commerce is the top business lobbying group. So here's what the president said, defending his steps to pull the economy out of the deep recession.
Now, on some issues like the Recovery Act, we found common cause. On other issues, we've had some pretty strong disagreements. But I'm here today because I am convinced that we can and we must work together.
Any reaction first off to that?
The state chamber and the U.S. chamber play a somewhat different role than local chambers. Many local chambers are not involved in the legislative or the political process. At the state chamber and at the national level, the U.S. chamber, we are advocacy organizations. Sometimes we agree with governors and presidents. Sometimes we disagree. We always try to do that respectfully. I think yesterday's meeting between the U.S. Chamber and the President of the United States was a very positive development. I know Tom Donahue, the President and CEO of the U.S. Chamber personally, and I know his staff, and I know that the staff and members of the U.S. Chamber respect the White House and want our President to be a strong and effective leader. That doesn't mean that we will always agree on policy issues, and I think yesterday's meeting hopefully was a first step in reestablishing some communication. I think sometimes Congress and the President don't understand the negative impact that political and economic uncertainty has on job creation and business growth. And a lot of what the federal government has done over the last year or two has created a lot of economic uncertainty for employers, dramatic changes in federal law that have caused employers to be very cautious about hiring. So this dialogue, I think, can only be helpful.
Funny you should say that because Tony Cuthbert, I'm going to skip down to Obama 4 there, Chamber 0207. This is the president challenging businesses to help America and help Americans.
Ask yourselves what you can do to hire more American workers, what you can do to support the American economy and invest in this nation.
He said he wants businesses to get off the sidelines, start hiring, and get in the game. And if they're afraid to, he wants to know why. What's your reaction?
My guess is that he heard politely, but clearly yesterday from the board and staff of the U.S. Chamber about those areas where there is agreement, for example, on the need to fix America's crumbling infrastructure, and on areas where there's a lot of concern about regulatory policies that impose unnecessary cost, the uncertainty of the federal health care mandate, at the U.S. Chamber and at the National Chamber, although we're proud to represent most of America's leading corporations, most chamber members are small businesses and medium-sized companies. They live and work in the communities where they operate their businesses, and our members care deeply about moving Michigan forward and investing in our state and our country. So I would think that's a positive message that was well received.
Okay, locally here in the state of Michigan, there's talk about the item pricing law. We've heard that the governor wants to do away with it. Representative Schmidt was with us earlier, too, and State Representative Chuck Moss is listening. Is the Michigan Chamber behind the idea of not forcing businesses to put a price tag on every single item?
Yes, we support repeal of item pricing. The Snyder-Kelly administration is off to a good start. They've made a lot of good personnel decisions. They're making good policy decisions, and we want to do everything we can at the Michigan Chamber to work with the new House, the new Senate, and the new administration to get Michigan moving forward again. And removing obsolete laws is a good way to tear down those barriers to job creation and business growth.
All right, thank you very much. Rich Studley, the Executive Director of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from the Birmingham area. What's number one on your priority list today, Representative Moss?
Well, today we're getting ready for the budget. We expect to have the governor's budget in a week, and we're looking at how we're going to get this pup done. We want it done by June 1st. Basically that's it. I'm the appropriations guy. You mentioned item pricing, though. That adds $2 billion onto costs that consumers have to pay and businesses have to pay. And look, it's an obsolete job now. It's like paying people to hold horses, or drive your buggies, or work on the cranks on your cars. That's just technologically obsolete. And to force businesses to hire guys they really don't need anymore means they can't hire guys that they do need. And if the president is all worried about businesses hiring people, they need to get out of the way and stop forcing businesses to do things that cost them money that are unprofitable, or they won't be able to hire actual real workers they need. That law made sense when they passed it back in the 1970s, which is 35 to 40 years ago. It's just technologically obsolete now. We might as well force businesses to hire guys to stand around and hold your buggy whip.
Okay. You hold your own buggy whip. State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from Birmingham. Television viewers, thanks for being with us. Radio listeners, stay where you are. There's another hour of this on AM 1240 in the Lansing area and all across the state of Michigan, wherever you're listening right now. It's Michael Patrick Shields.
Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. 'Cause now it's time to go. But hey, I say, well, that's so.